I mean, we can talk about how the TikTok ban exposes the hypocrisy of those who, champion freedom and so forth. Yet those same people work tirelessly to restrict it, when it doesn't serve their agenda. But I mean, who doesn't know that already? The politicians and the media tell you that it's dangerous, that TikTok is dangerous because it has ties to China and what have you, and they claim that your data isn't safe. But obviously, this is a lie. I mean, where was that concern for your data when US tech giants were caught selling your data to China? When Facebook sold it, when Google sold it, when Amazon sold it, when they co-modified your personal information, where was the political outrage, the politicians' outrage? Not to mention that every major politician was using TikTok during their campaigns, pandering to younger voters with their, dance trends and hashtags and what have you. I mean, if TikTok was such a great threat, why didn't those politicians lead by example and refuse to use it? I mean, the hypocrisy is just too transparent to really even merit comment, to be honest. There was a time when the US government actually confronted monopolies, not protect monopolies. They actually wanted to break monopolies apart. They went after Standard Oil, they went after AT&T, they went after others because of their unchecked power that threaten the interests of the population. Always be on the side of the people who, just like you, are being tyrannized by the American power structure. That's which side you should always be on. We need to develop a sense of situational citizenship. In other words, everyone who's in the same situation should consider themselves to be compatriots, one with the other, no matter where they are in the world. Doesn't matter where you are in the world. It means that the ties that bind us together should be defined not by borders, not by race, not by nationality, but by the common experiences that we share, the common struggles that we endure, that we're going through, by our conditions, the common injustices that we fight. I mean, if you and I are in the same situation, whether it's oppression, whether it's poverty, the fight for dignity, what have you, then you and I are compatriots. They've been telling us for centuries that we're supposed to be loyal to nations, to flags, and to lines that are drawn on maps and so forth. But I'll ask you something. When you're hungry, does that flag feed you? When you're homeless, does your national anthem give you shelter? This is not a thing that exists in reality. When they strip your rights away, does the government stand beside you? They're the ones who are taking your rights. It turns you back and tells you to fend for yourself. The fact is that the A-national elites who oppose us, they don't care what passport you hold. The corporations that exploit your labor, they don't care what language you speak. They don't care which side of the American border you're on. Injustice is borderless, and so should solidarity be. I'll give you an example. When you look at a worker in a sweatshop in Bangladesh who's toiling for some American company, for some American multinational for just pennies, compare that to a situation of a single mother who's working 2 jobs in Detroit, barely making enough to survive. They don't share the same nationality, but they share the same situation. They share the same struggle. They're both being exploited by the same system. They're both serving the same masters. So why should they see each other as being any different? No, they should look at each other as brothers and sisters. In a shared situation, they're both in the same citizenship situationally. Or if you look at the indigenous people who are fighting for their land in the Amazon, for example, and compare them to the Standing Rock Sioux who are fighting against pipelines in North Dakota, what's the difference? It's different continents, different languages, different history, but it's the same fight. It's the same corporations that are stealing their land, it's the same corporations that are polluting their water, it's the same corporations that are violating their rights with state backing. No, they're compatriots. Whether they know it or not, they're compatriots. Situational citizenship means recognizing that your loyalty should be to the people who are beside you in the trenches, even if they're down the line in the trenches. Your loyalty shouldn't be to the people who are in the ivory towers giving orders. It means you're supposed to see someone who's suffering the same oppression that you're suffering. If you see people who are suffering the same oppression that you're suffering, you don't ask them for their ID. You fight together. Now, I'm not saying that you should abandon your identity. Be proud of who you are, where you came from, and so on. But don't let those things blind you to the humanity of others and your similarity to them. Don't let that keep you from seeing that your struggle is tied to their struggle. And in fact, it is one and the same struggle. Because if you limit your loyalty to your nationality, to your race, to your ethnicity, or what have you, then you're playing by their rules. And those rules were designed to keep you divided and powerless. In 2025, situational citizenship isn't just an idea, I think it's a responsibility. It's a recognition. When you see someone fighting for justice, well, that's your fight too. When you see someone suffering, that's your pain too. When you see someone rising up, why, you ought to rise up with them. That's the kind of solidarity that we need to build. A solidarity where we stand with each other, not because we share a flag, but because we share a fight. Your compatriots aren't just those who look like you. They're not just those who speak like you, or who come from where you come from. They're the people who share your struggle, who share the same struggle and the same situation as you. When we start to see each other that way, I think we'll become unstoppable. I've said this before. This is the kind of solidarity that the elites have built between themselves. You know, they are their own nation. They don't have borders. They don't care about passports. They don't care about nationality. All they care about is their class and their shared privilege and power and shared interests. So we should take the same approach. You know, I've used the analogy before about a prison break. You know, in a prison, if prisoners want to escape, well, you've got prisoners who are trying to tunnel out of the jail from inside their cells. But if the inmates in a prison actually demolish the walls between the cells, and then they can't compartmentalize the inmates anymore, well, they would take over that prison in no time.
So yes, the United States government is one big conflict of interest, mainly because most of the politicians either own or have a large stake in these companies, such as the farms, the pharmaceuticals, and the water companies, and so many other resources, right, of the people. And so what this does is it kind of create a political bias, if you will, due to the politicians' vested interest in this business, right? So we can't necessarily count on them to make non-biased decisions for us, or to pass, non-biased policies and laws and bills, right? For them to legitimately advocate for us, the people. Now it becomes more about the person, in his or her self-interest. There's always been a ban on information in America, at least for the citizens anyway. The government has always wanted the people left in the dark. This is why for the longest of time, Americans' educational system and curriculum was so outdated, because ignorance is a powerful tool of slavery. Hey everybody, I'm Unpopular, just stopping by to share my thoughts with you guys. That is, of course, with everyone that's interested in hearing them. If you happen to be one of those people, I'd like to ask you to go ahead and hit that like button. Do consider subscribing to the channel, and I'll be right back with more of my own unpopular thoughts.